Hello my friends, I am so excited to be back here on YouTube. I know it's been a while since you guys have seen any new content from me. I did just take some time off from YouTube and pretty much any social media in general for a while. I just had some other things that I needed to get done, and I also needed to prioritize my family and my health, and also am trying to just find a balance between all of those things. I love creating content and bringing you guys videos and ideas. So I have some changes that I have made to my channel and things that I'm going to be doing in the upcoming months. I am very excited about these, and I hope that you will be too. So the first change that I have made, those of you that have been with me since the beginning and earlier on, I can't remember when I changed my banner last, but I have made some changes to my YouTube banner, so be sure that you check that out. I wanted this to incorporate all of the new content, new video ideas that I have coming out for you guys. Of course, I will still be doing DIYs, thrift flips, easy craft projects, and things like that. But I also want to incorporate other things that I am passionate about, whether that is gardening right now, harvesting and preserving what I grow, baking with my gluten-free sourdough, going on nature walks, crochet, just whatever it is that I am doing currently for either that month or the season maybe. And I decided to start adding these new things to my channel just as a way to help me find that balance. It is super stressful for me personally to try to come up with 3 or 4 different craft ideas for the week, get all of those done, do all of the editing and everything that goes into creating a video. So this is just a way for me to prioritize myself and my health and my family, and hopefully still be able to create content for you all and be able to continue to build this community that I have started on YouTube. I have greatly missed connecting with you guys. I always enjoy seeing your comments, your kind words, and your encouragement on my videos. And I hope to continue to build this community, maybe grow some more subscribers, get a new audience with this new type of content. I have several things that I am really excited about that I can't wait to share with you guys, and I am looking forward to the upcoming months and these videos that I have planned out for you all. My heart's desire is that this channel is a place where you can come to find encouragement. You can find reminders to just take joy in the simple things and enjoy the moment that you are in, a place that you can find a reprieve from whatever is going on in your world right now, just a place where you can find joy and just take a moment and relax and breathe and just be encouraged. And just a reminder that everything doesn't have to be complicated. We don't have to be trendy, keep up with the latest and the greatest trends. Just be yourself and do what it is that makes you happy, whatever that you feel that God has put a call on your heart to do. Hope you guys enjoy these new videos that I have. And without further ado, let's jump into today's video. I went to Hobby Lobby recently and just picked out some different florals. I wanted some to go on my mantle that would work well for spring and summer and that would last until the fall season. So I found some tulips and some roses, and I'm not sure exactly what these branches are, but I thought they would be a good filler, and I also picked out some lavender. So I just took everything apart. The tulips were wrapped up with some twine. So I just took those apart out of the bundle, and I did just cut everything down. I needed this to be in a smaller size that would be easier to work with. And a lot of these picks were really thick, so I did use my scissors on some of these and kind of just cut that plastic part a little bit, and then I was able to go back in with my wire cutters and just cut that wire in each of the stems. As you can see here, I did not do that for the lavender pick, so I really struggled with that one, but I was finally able to get all of that cut apart. But the trick of using your scissors first just to loosen up all that plastic works really well, and then it's just a little bit easier to cut through that wire of your florals. So I found this really pretty yellow picture at a local antique store, and I love to style these, either pieces that I find at the antique store or that I find at the thrift store, and I love to use these in my home decor for different seasons. So for example, for the 4th of July, I have just went through and pulled a lot of my blues and reds to add to my home decor, and this one I thought would work well. I've had it out for spring and also going to use it for summer and probably even into the fall season because it is this really pretty yellow color. So to arrange my florals, I don't really have any rhyme or reason to do this, you guys. I just play around with it until I like the way that it looks. So I do want to start with my tulips because I want these to be kind of the focal point for this piece. So I just trimmed all of these down to sizes that I think would be good to fit in this, and also for sizes that I think will work well for where I'm going to put this. I'm going to have this on the mantle above my fireplace. So I am just going to play around with all of these florals, and I'm starting with the tulips because I want these to be the main filler and focal point for this. And I do just move things around while I am working on my florals and things, and I just play around with it until I am happy with the way that everything looks. So, and I loved these really pretty roses. I thought these would coordinate really nicely with the tulips, and these actually look real to me. These all came in the section from Hobby Lobby, not like the big bulk stems that you can find, if you know what I'm talking about, in Hobby Lobby. These are ones that I found in those first main aisles, and I did pick all of these up when all of the florals and stems were 40% off. So be sure that you do that because these florals and things can get really expensive really quickly. So I got 3 of these rose picks, and I'm just kind of tucking those in with my tulips. And I think I want to use my lavender next. And I love using lavender in my florals, so I have a lot of this throughout my home. I just tuck that in different places. So, and I do like to turn my floral piece around while I am working on it. Just see what looks the best. And I think the last thing I have to add, I'm not sure exactly what this is, but it kind of reminded me of either a cherry blossom or an apple blossom. So I really liked the way that this looked, and I thought it would add some really good height to this floral piece. So let's just get these tucked in here, and then I'll give you guys a closer look at how this turns out. And so here's how my floral piece came out, and I will show you guys what it looks like on my mantle. But I love these soft pinks and the peach colors, and something that I keep in mind when I'm working with my florals, all of these are things that I could have found just outside growing close by. I don't have tulips, but I do have some roses and some lavender, and I had a cherry tree that bloomed earlier in the spring. So I like to use things that I would find here locally. So that's something that you might want to keep in mind if you are doing any florals or things like that for your home decor. But let's go put this up on my mantle and see how it looks with all of my other decor. So here's Good morning, my friends. I am trying to head out to the garden and get some things done before it gets really hot today. It's supposed to be about 90 degrees and the humidity right now is about 99%, so it's getting really hot already. But I wanted to just take you guys through my garden and show you kind of what I have going on and what we have been working on pretty much all throughout the spring. So let's take a walk in my garden. So this side of our garden area we have left with the raised beds. We put these in several years ago and I have been able to grow quite a bit in here. So these first couple of beds, this one and this one over here as well, both have some greens and things in them. I have spinach that has already bolted. I planted that pretty early and I didn't even get any off of there to eat before it bolted. The weather just got too hot. And then I have some kale over here, and I also have some onions, and the kale in this bed is actually volunteer that came back from what I had planted in there a couple of years ago, I think. And this bed here has all of my lettuce. There's 3 different kinds of lettuce in there. I know there's romaine and iceberg, and I can't remember the other one. It's just a leaf lettuce. And I also have some rainbow carrots over here. The deer did jump in and eat the tops off of all of those, but they are coming back. So hopefully I will be able to harvest at least enough of those for us to eat on this year. And moving on down here. This is some straight neck squash in here. I had 2 others and they died, so I just replanted some seeds this year. And in this bed I have some zucchini, and my garden looks a lot different this time of year than it normally does. The day that I'm filming is July the 1st, and normally by this time of year everything is almost fully grown and we are already harvesting a lot, like my beans would be ready and everything, but we are actually going to be gone on a pretty long trip coming up soon, so I actually waited quite a bit later to plant everything. So I'm hoping that I got my timing right and everything will be coming in when we get back from our trip. So this bed here, you can't really tell that there's anything in there, but I had some garlic in here. I had to move my garlic from over there. We redid that area, took out the beds. I'll show you guys that a little bit closer here in just a minute. But I moved all of my garlic over here and I kept some out to dry, and it has just died back already. So I don't know if I'm actually going to be able to harvest any more of that or not. And all of this lovely stuff all throughout my garden is lemon balm. I put that out in one of these other beds a long time ago. And don't do that, you guys. Learn from my mistake. If you plant lemon balm, put it in a container because it takes over. It is a really good bug repellent, so we'll just pick these leaves and kind of put them behind our ears or tuck them in our hat or whatever that we're wearing that day when we're working in the garden. But it will just spread and take over completely. But I do like the way that it's kind of framing out my beds here. And over here I have 3 beds of tomatoes, and I also planted some Blue Lake beans in between my tomatoes, and just a couple of those. That's kind of an experiment this year. I haven't ever done that before, but according to my research, if you plant the beans in with your tomatoes, the tomatoes will feed off of the nitrogen that the beans put into the soil. So I'm hoping to get a lot of tomatoes. These are maniple tomatoes. I have never grown these before. I wanted something that I could make like spaghetti sauce, salsas, and all of those different things, and hopefully the consistency be a little bit better than just like paste tomatoes like the Romas. So I have a lot of these tomatoes, so I'm hoping to get a really good harvest of those. And I also have some volunteer little cherry tomatoes that are coming up. I had some of the yellow ones in, I think, both of these beds last year. So these are just popping up everywhere. So I'm just leaving those in here and we'll see how they do. This set I might have to thin out quite a bit because there's a lot of those in there. And I still have a couple of my lavender plants that I set out a few years ago. I do need to trim these back, but I did harvest quite a few of the little lavender buds, and I have those dried already to use for crafts or homemade gifts or things like that. I love having different herbs and stuff in my garden. It just helps with pollinators, and they are beneficial, and a lot of these repel different kinds of insects, so I like to incorporate different kinds of herbs and things in with all of my gardening. So this side of my garden, we did have the garden beds in here as well, and this spring we decided to pull those out so we could do just some in-ground planting this year and do some rows. Like we have 3 rows of half-runner beans. I have 1 full row of different kinds of peppers, then some more peppers in this row, and a couple more tomatoes. These are, I think, my Mr. Stripey's down here. And then I have some sunflowers. Try not to walk too much in here, you guys. We got a lot of rain yesterday, and it is pretty muddy on this side. Let's see if I can scoot down here a little bit. But we have some more tomatoes, and I do have 1 zucchini plant way right there, if you can see that. I had some more set out here, but they died. I think I left them sitting out on my porch too long because, again, I was waiting a little bit later to set everything out. So I have just put some more seeds down in an area here and then some more down here as well. So hopefully when we get back from our trip, I can do another look at the garden and it will look a lot different than it does right now. And I do have 3 of these barrels with strawberries, and this one we've had to put stakes in and just some of this netting around because the deer were eating them. They're not in the actual enclosed area of the fence there. So I have this one, and then I have, try not to go too fast. Ivy's catching grasshoppers. And then I have 2 more over there. So we've been getting several strawberries off of those, and the deer hadn't bothered these over here. I guess they're too close to the house. So I'll just have to keep an eye on those and this one here and make sure the deer aren't getting them. And then, there's Ivy. The grasshopper she was chasing must have went inside the fence, and now she can't get to it. Can't you get it? And we also have a lot of blackberries. This one, and there's some down below the bank here off the edge of the garden, and then I have some more on the upper side up there too, and these are all volunteer. So we have just left those, and we cut out the dead ones towards the fall, and we may have to cut some of these back later on in the fall this year just so that they will produce better and have better growth in the bushes. But we've already harvested quite a bit off of this one, and I also have some mullein down here that's off of the bank. That one, you guys, is probably 5 feet tall from the bottom to the very top of the bloom there, and I have already harvested that as well. I just pulled off some of those bigger leaves before it bloomed and dried those, and I have those stored in my herbal medicine cabinet. We use this for coughs and things like that later on in, you know, the cold and flu season. I found this large cylinder vase at Dollar Tree recently, and this one is $5, but I thought it would be perfect for some faux farmhouse decor. I just started by removing that label, and I thought this one might peel off pretty easily, but it did not. So I just used my heat gun just to heat up that adhesive, and then it just peeled right off for me. And I did clean this out because these pieces can get really dusty while they're sitting on the shelf at Dollar Tree. So I just made sure to remove any dust or lint. And you guys, if you don't have one of these, it's a cake decorating like Lazy Susan, you need to get one of those because they make spray painting so easy. You just set your item that you want to spray paint and you turn that easily and you are able to spray paint whatever you are working on. And I did just a couple of coats of this one. And this was the Heirloom White by Rust-Oleum, and this was a satin finish. I didn't want this to be super shiny. I did not spray the inside. You can if you want to, but since it's glass, it just looks like you have already spray painted it on the inside. And then I just took some washi tape and just marked off a couple of areas that I wanted to do some stripes. I'm keeping this super simple and easy to do. I am trying to be more intentional with the crafts that I make and just make sure that they are easy, not very time consuming, low stress, and low cost. So I just marked those off and pressed that down firmly just to make sure I wouldn't have any bleeding under my washi tape. And I just used this Admiral Blue paint. This is just acrylic paint from Apple Barrel. And again, I used that cake turntable, Lazy Susan, whatever you want to call that, to help me get this paint on and paint those stripes. Just made this really easy and made this process go by super quickly. And I did do a couple of coats with that acrylic paint. I wasn't too worried about getting full coverage because I do want this to look old and vintage. But I did just go ahead and do those 2 coats just to make sure I wouldn't have a lot of streaks and empty space there on the stripes. And just to speed up that drying process, I used my heat gun once again and just easily pulled off that washi tape. And because this was low tack, I did not expect any of that paint to come up, but yeah, it did. I don't know why that spray paint peeled off with some of this tape. It only did it in that one spot. So I'm not sure if that was a thicker area. Maybe I didn't get that evenly spread out there. I don't know what happened. But I was able just to go back and patch that area with some of my plaster colored chalk paint, and I did 2 coats of that. And unfortunately, I did have just a little bit of bleeding underneath that washi tape, but I was okay with how that looked. I like it when things are not perfect because you know that they are handmade. And I grabbed out 2 different colors of my Distress ink, the Vintage Photo and the Dark Walnut. I do end up only using that Vintage Photo. I thought the Dark Walnut may have been a little bit too dark for this piece. So I just used one of those little daubers and went over the top area first just to see how I liked that color. And then I just go back in with the entire ink pad and just kind of rub that over the surface and then go back and just kind of buff out all of those lines and smudges with that little dauber. And this just added a little bit of vintage antique look that I really like. It made it look a little bit dirty and used and well loved. And I don't know if I didn't let my Distress ink dry long enough before I went in with my Mod Podge, but you can see here how it's kind of picking up that ink and it's making it a little bit streaky and it's actually darkening that ink color. So if you don't want this look on your finished piece, you might want to do your Mod Podge first and then maybe go over it with the Distress ink, or you completely skip the Distress ink step and just seal it with some Mod Podge. And I did use the glossy Mod Podge because I did want this to look a little bit shiny, like a finished pottery piece. And this is what it looks like all finished and ready to go in my kitchen. It is the perfect container for all of my utensils. Well, my friends, that wraps up today's video. I hope you enjoyed this newer style of video that I have for you, and I would love to know your thoughts. leave me a comment down below. Again, I always enjoy reading those and connecting with my audience. Please give this video a thumbs up, hype if you really enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already. And I will see you guys in the next one.